The Parliament of South Africa is where the legislative power of the country lies. It is the highest law-making body in the country. The official opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has taken a hard line against bills it did not agree with. But it says even where it wasn't successful, the party is proud of the work it has done since 2019.
And of course, we fought very hard and valiantly against the National Health Insurance, which for us, we believed that it will not in any way improve the lives of South Africans. Instead, it will send them back in terms of the gains that have been made in terms of access to health care. We fought again against the expropriation bill. And of course, we also voted against the Electoral Matters Amendment Bill.
The IFP is on the same page when it comes to the Expropriation Act.
We felt was sneaked through the back door because the constitutional amendment failed in the House and they brought through this amendment there.
The Good Party's views are in direct contrast to the DA's on NHI and expropriation.
The highlights must be passing of the Expropriation Act, the amendment to the 1975 Act, which introduces a much more justice-orientated approach to land reform and land expropriation. And despite all of the noise that is generated by those who are opposed to it, is actually a fairer piece of legislation for those whose land may be expropriated because they are not required to go to court.
The Freedom Front Plus says it can't recall any good legislation processed in this term.
I think in terms of legislation, one must remember that during this term, the ANC tried to amend the Constitution. We spent a lot of time trying to amend Section 25 that deals with property rights. I served on that committee. In the end, it didn't succeed and they couldn't get the majority in Parliament, a two-thirds majority. So that was a failure. Later on, which is also negative from my perspective, they've now brought the expropriation bill again, but now it's normal legislation that will have to be tested against the Constitution. I think that's negative.
The UDM and ACDP shared their views.
And us trying to make sure that we implore the government to make sure that they allocate enough resources for the intellectual development of sign language. The other one, obviously, which was problematic for us, and you saw us fighting against it with all our might, is this party funding, the Electoral Matters Amendment Bill.
And the Justice Portfolio Committee, on which I serve, was instructed to amend various pieces of legislation to ensure vulnerable women and children are protected. We quickly passed that legislation, including the Domestic Violence Act, the Sexual Offences Act, and we believe that that was very positive in quickly passing legislation to deal with the spike in gender-based violence.
Al-Jamaa says it's proud of the work done on the Muslim marriages bill.
It is possible for any Muslim couple to go with their nikah certificate, which they got from the imam in a mosque, and over the counter get a South African Muslim marriage certificate, the first in South Africa and I think the first in the world. So that is a major achievement for us. We worked 5 years for it, and I'm very happy that before the end of my term, we succeeded.
The ACDP and Al-Jamaa share concerns about the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, the Bella Bill, which they say allows too much state control over how parents educate their children. Abra Babia, SABC News, Parliament.